Thanks to CuriosityStream for supporting this episode. Go to curiositystream.com/microcosmos to start streaming thousands of documentaries and nonfiction TV shows. We have spent most of our journey through the microcosmos, seeking out the organisms that are too small to see with the human eye. The bacteria, the ciliates, the tardigrades, and part of what makes them so exciting is that they are so tiny. Every moment we spend with one of these organisms is a peek into something exceptional in our experience in the world. And it is the result of how much work James, our master of microscopes, has to put into hunting down as many microbes as he can. And sometimes that effort takes a lot of persistence. Take, for example, the creature we are going to focus on today, the bristle worm. This has been one of the white whales for our channel for some time, and as you watch it, you can perhaps understand why we have been searching so hard for it. It's got the body of a pipe cleaner with the head of a cartoon dragon. And maybe you also understand that just because we've been waiting to find one of these worms, that doesn't mean we are guaranteed anything. After all, one of the things you have to accept about the microcosmos and microbe hunting is that it is a big world full of tiny creatures, and it can take a while to find some of them. The fact that we are showing you one of these bristleworms right now spoils the twist we would usually build into, but surprise, we found a bristleworm. The real twist is that this was not the first bristleworm we found. This was the first bristleworm we found. 20 centimeters of segments and bristles climbing up the side of a tank before burrowing back beneath the sand. Unfortunately, that's just about all the video we got of that bristleworm. James spent so much time trying to find that bristleworm again that he started to feel a connection to it, so he decided to give it a name. It is named Gunther. James spent hours trying to catch it without hurting the worm, but Gunther has hundreds of appendages that can grab onto sand, and James didn't want to accidentally snap the worm in half with his tweezers. So instead of showing all the features of Gunther that he wanted to show, we are going to show clips of this bristleworm instead, because it kind of resembles Gunther, except it's a lot tinier. Gunther is hopefully still somewhere in that tank, living a nice life in the burrow it dug for itself, but it's hard to know exactly where in the tank Gunther made its home because it would only show activity in the dark. The moment James tried to turn the lights on and watch the worm in motion, it would vanish again under the sand. And as it became harder and harder to find, James kept hoping that one day something would bring another bristleworm to him. And then, one day, James received a package from a coral farm containing sediments and other things that might contain some interesting organisms, and we talked about some of those organisms that James found in our last episode. But in addition to all of those, James found several species of his long sought-after bristleworm. Bristleworms are also known as polychaetes, and they're part of the segmented worm phylum known as annelids. The name polychaete translates in Greek to many hairs. Those stiff hairs are called setae, and for most polychaetes they are attached to paddle-like appendages called the parapodia that branch off each segment of the worm. Our giant friend Gunther most likely belongs to the order Unicida, but its microscopic look-alike is more unknown to us. But we can imagine that it spends its life crawling around the sand and feeding on algae or whatever else it can take a bite out of. You can see this one moving its mouth in slow motion, like a weird pair of pincers inside clamping down on something, and the movement is even more dramatic in full speed. This probably looks like a bunch of tiny individual orange worms tangled together, but it is in fact a worm belonging to the genus Ceratolus that can get to around 12 centimeters in length. And along with its distinctive color, the worm is easy to spot in wet sandy mud because of those threads you see waving across your screen. Some of these threads are tentacles, but others are actually gills. And in the water, those threads seem to float serenely, but this effect is lost on land. In a paper from the beginning of the 20th century titled Notes on the Ecology of Ceratolus tentaculatus, the author wrote, "When withdrawn from the mud, Ceratolus presents an exceeding limp and bedraggled appearance." This worm has a more imposing appearance, but also a funnier name. It belongs to the Terabellid order, but it's known as a spaghetti worm. These tropical worms live in sand, building tubes out of gravel and limestone to live in. Their tentacles spill out from the tube, sometimes extending as far as a meter to gather building materials and food for the worm. To reproduce, spaghetti worms will release their eggs and sperm into the water, but only at night, and sometimes even without other males or females around. They seem to do this on a lunar cycle with a limited 2-week window for those gametes to release and find each other. That seems like an extraordinarily chancy way to reproduce, but it seems to work for this worm. These are the bristleworms we were able to find from our coral samples, and so it seems like our hunt for this white whale might be over. Except, the more we've been reading about bristleworms, the more we wish we could find even more, because these are an animal whose existence seems designed to inspire lists of fun facts and bizarre trivia. There are thousands of species of polychaetes, and they all seem to have something remarkable or weird about them. Some spend their lives in tubes that stick up from the sand, using their parapodia to paddle water through the burrow. Others have managed to carve out lives near hydrothermal vents. Some sound like they are straight out of a horror novel, growing up to 10 feet long or dining on the bones of decomposing animals. And some even have eyes on both ends of their bodies. So knowing that there are all of these different species out there, how could we ever end our quest for the bristleworm? Thank you for coming on this journey with us as we explore the unseen world that surrounds us. This episode was brought to you by CuriosityStream, a subscription streaming service that offers thousands of documentaries and nonfiction TV shows from some of the world's best filmmakers, including award-winning exclusives and originals. They cover topics like history, nature, science, food, technology, travel, and more. And to balance out all of the creepy crawlies you've been watching throughout this episode, this week we're going to recommend checking out The Science of Cute on CuriosityStream. Not only will you get to see a bunch of very cute puppies, but you will also learn about the domestication of dogs and how their behavior and anatomy has changed over time to make them just the cutest little things ever. You can stream CuriosityStream's library, including their collections of curated programs handpicked by their experts, to any device for viewing anytime, anywhere. And if you go to curiositystream.com/microcosmos and use the code microcosmos to sign up, it will only cost you $14.99 for an entire year. The people whose names are on your screen right now, they are our Patreon patrons. We are so happy and excited to be able to continue our search of the microcosmos, doing weird things like writing to coral companies and having them send us samples. I think that's just the beginning of some of the cool stuff that we can do, and these patrons are the reason that we can do it. So thank you so much to all of them. And if you want to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/journeytomicro. If you want to see more from our master of microscopes, James Weiss, and why wouldn't you, check out Gem and Germs on Instagram, and if you want to see more from us, there's always a subscribe button somewhere nearby.